So Season 8 has been out for about a week here in Fortnite, and I don't know about you guys, but I have had an absolute blast playing this season so far. Honestly, it's been so cool to see the evolution of Fortnite throughout all of the individual seasons. I don't know about you guys, but I first started playing Fortnite Battle Royale back in September of 2017 when it first came out, and I want you guys to let me know right now down in the comments section below when you guys first started playing the game. Now, because of that, I wanted to go ahead and throw it back just a little bit, all the way back to Season 1, to sort of pay tribute to the OG Fortnite players. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 things that only Season 1 players will remember. So to go ahead and get started with today's video, the very first thing that only Season 1 Fortnite players will remember is probably the biggest and the most obvious. This is in regard to the original Fortnite map. Of course, here in Season 8, the Fortnite map has undergone a ton of changes from Season 1 to Season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and of course our current season. The map has definitely seen some pretty substantial changes. Of course, with the original Fortnite map, this is such a juvenile map compared to all of the crazy things that we now have here in the game. Now, back in Season 1, times were much more simple, and there were only actually 13 named locations on the map. Some locations which were actually removed in later seasons include places like Anarchy Acres, Moisty Mires, and even recently, Wailing Woods. Regardless, the OG Fortnite map is definitely something only Season 1 players will remember. So moving on to the next thing that only Season 1 players will remember, this is actually in regard to a different type of trap. Here we have the electric ceiling trap. And now, there was once a time in Fortnite where there were actually a multitude of traps, aside from just the regular spike trap, which is the only trap available in Fortnite right now. Like the name suggests, the electric ceiling trap was an electric trap that was placed on a ceiling, and if an enemy walked into it, they would get electrocuted and they would die. Now, the trap was definitely effective in killing enemies, however, it was honestly super loud. So if you guys were using a pretty decent headset, you guys could definitely hear an enemy place this ceiling trap. Then you guys could further hear the electricity buzzing, so you knew not to walk into a particular house because you could actually hear the ceiling trap. So it really wasn't all that good of a trap, and I guess that's why Epic Games did decide to take it out a pretty long time ago. Now, in addition to the electric ceiling trap or the ceiling zapper, there was actually yet another trap available back in Season 1. This is the wall Dynamo. As I mentioned earlier, there were actually a multitude of traps available in Fortnite Battle Royale back in Season 1, and where the ceiling trap could only be placed on the ceiling, the wall Dynamo was actually an electric trap that could be placed on walls. Now, the wall Dynamo functioned pretty much the exact same way as the electric ceiling trap or the ceiling zapper did, where it administered an electric shock to your enemies, and obviously if they walked in it, they would die. And again, it was a pretty loud trap, so if you guys were using a pretty decent headset, you guys definitely could hear the electricity buzzing of the wall Dynamo, and because of that, you knew not to walk in a particular house or past a particular wall. Moving on to another thing that only Season 1 players will remember. This is actually something which Epic Games brought back in a later season, but our Season 1 players will probably only remember the original version of this trap being the Directional Jump Pad. Now, this was a super awesome item. Obviously, you picked it up and it could be placed on a floor, and if you stepped on it, it would launch you in a particular direction. And it's sort of similar to the jump pad or the bounce pad that was in Fortnite in later seasons. However, what sets this apart from that bounce pad is, as I said, it is a directional jump pad because it only thrusted you or bounced you in a particular direction depending on which way you guys stepped or hopped onto the directional jump pad. So in addition to the Directional Jump Pad, another thing that only Season 1 players will remember in Fortnite is something I think a ton of people are super happy is no longer in the game. This is team killing. That's right, guys, there was once a time in Fortnite Battle Royale where you could actually kill your teammates. Now, I think that when the developers added this into the game, they didn't have the intentions of making players on the same team rage at one another and having each other kill their own teammates. I think it was more so to make the game a little bit more realistic in the sense where your teammates could potentially take damage from you. Whether you guys are using a grenade or even a rifle, you just had to play a little bit more smart and a little bit more strategic so you didn't damage or hurt your teammates. Of course, this has since been removed. I'm pretty sure it was removed a very long time ago, considering it led to a ton of people in the community complaining about it, and if I'm not mistaken, it ultimately led to a ton of people being banned from Fortnite from killing their teammates. Of course, as I said, I am so happy that team killing is no longer in the game. Continuing on to the next thing that only Season 1 players will remember. This is actually a very small aspect of the game I think a ton of people actually forgot about. This is in regard to the original Medkit. Now, as you guys can see in the bottom right hand corner of the inventory section where that Medkit is, you guys may notice that the original Medkit is actually a common or a gray item. Obviously, now in Fortnite, the Medkit is no longer considered a common or a gray item, rather it is an uncommon or a green item. Now, I don't exactly remember when Epic Games decided to make the Medkit no longer a common and instead an uncommon item, but it's definitely a pretty interesting change that I think only Season 1 players will remember the original version of that Medkit. Moving on to yet another thing that only Season 1 players will remember. This is also a very small aspect of the game I think a lot of people may actually not even remember about. This is also in regard to an individual's inventory, specifically the grenade icon. As you guys can see in your inventory, the grenade icon was once a lot more realistic than the grenade icon which we have now. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that grenades were actually removed from Battle Royale not too long ago. But again, back in Season 1, the grenade icon definitely had a much more realistic look to it in an individual's inventory. And I think the reason behind changing it has probably something to do with the fact that Epic Games is trying to keep their game a little bit more PG. Moving on to another thing that only Season 1 players will remember. This is probably by far the most rare and the most overpowered weapon to ever come to Fortnite, aside from the awful sword which we had at Polar Peak a couple of months ago. This is the Zappatron. Now, as I said, the Zappatron is by far one of the rarest items to ever be added into Fortnite, and I honestly think that adding the Zappatron into Fortnite was probably a mistake on the developers' part. The Zappatron is basically a super rare legendary item, and when you guys picked up the Zappatron, you could absolutely obliterate enemies with a single electric blast. Now, the Zappatron was such a rare weapon, and I think that the gameplay that you guys just saw is literally the only gameplay out there on YouTube with someone actually getting and using the Zappatron. I honestly don't think that Epic Games ever plans on bringing back the Zappatron into the game, but it's definitely an item that only Season 1 players will remember. Continuing on to the ninth thing that only Season 1 players will remember. This is actually another weapon. Here we have the original Submachine Gun. Obviously, since Fortnite first came out, there have been a ton of new weapons added into the game. A ton of old weapons have been removed or vaulted in Fortnite, and the original Submachine Gun is actually one of the many items that were removed. This is actually a gun that was removed back in the patch volume 2.5 update, so technically if you guys have been playing Fortnite since back in Season 2, you guys may remember using the original Submachine Gun, but of course this was a super awesome and very fun weapon to use, and since then it has obviously been removed, but it is definitely a gun that only Season 1 players, a little bit of Season 2, will remember. Moving on to the 10th and final thing that only Season 1 players will remember. This is a very nostalgic thing, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Epic Games has actually brought back a smaller version of this into Fortnite, considering we can actually unlock it, or we were able to unlock it in a previous Battle Pass. This, of course, is the original Fortnite menu music. I'll go ahead and play for you guys exactly what that nostalgic OG Season 1 Fortnite menu music used to sound like. So guys, there you have it. Those were 10 things that only Season 1 Fortnite players will remember. If you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure that you guys drop a like down below, subscribe if you're new. On top of that, if you guys enjoy my content and support me as a content creator, make sure that you guys go ahead and use my supporter creator code Swifterrs in the item shop when purchasing skins. Regardless guys, that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll be sure to catch you guys later.